The starship Celestial Horizon hummed softly as it glided through the void of space, its sleek metallic hull reflecting the faint light of distant suns. On board, the crew of 7 aliens from the Galactic Union of Civilized Species, GUCS, went about their duties, their many limbs and appendages moving with practiced precision. Among them was Zyloth, a young navigator from the planet Zentaris 9. She was small by galactic standards, her lavender skin shimmering faintly under the ship's artificial light, and her large, almond-shaped eyes constantly scanning her console for anomalies. Zyloth had always been proud of her role on the Celestial Horizon. It was her first deep space mission, and she had trained for years to earn her place among the crew. But now, as she stared at the coordinates displayed on her screen, her heart, or the Zentarian equivalent of 1, pounded in her chest. "Captain," she called out, her voice trembling. "There's been a mistake." Captain Vrax, a towering reptilian with scales the color of molten copper, turned his head sharply. His slit-pupilled eyes narrowed as he approached her station. "What kind of mistake, navigator?" Zyloth pointed a delicate, 3-fingered hand at the screen. "These coordinates, they're wrong. This can't be our destination." Vrax leaned in, his forked tongue flicking out as he studied the data. "No mistake," he rumbled. "Those are the coordinates given to us by GUCS Command. We're to conduct a survey of the planet and assess its potential for integration into the Union." Zyloth's breath hitched. But that's Earth." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Around her, the other crew members froze, their various appendages going still. Even Vrax, usually unflappable, seemed to hesitate. "Earth," repeated Dr. Krell, the ship's medic, a gelatinous being who quivered with unease. "You mean, the Death World?" Zyloth nodded frantically. "Yes. The planet with the unstable atmosphere, rampant predators, and the humans." The crew exchanged nervous glances. Everyone in the galaxy had heard the stories about Earth. It was a place of nightmares, a planet so hostile that even the most advanced species avoided it. The humans, the dominant species on Earth, were the stuff of legend, and not the good kind. "I've heard they can survive in the vacuum of space without suits," whispered T. Laura, the ship's engineer, her feathery antennae twitching. "And that they eat other sentient beings for sustenance," added Dr. Krell, his gelatinous form quivering even more. "That's not true," Zyloth said, though her voice lacked conviction. "But they are unpredictable and dangerous. Why would GUCS Command send us there?" Captain Vrax straightened, his scales rippling as he regained his composure. "Orders are orders," he said firmly. "We'll proceed as planned. But we'll take every precaution. Zyloth, plot a course for Earth. The rest of you, prepare for landing." The crew moved to obey, but Zyloth couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled over her. Earth. The most dangerous planet in the galaxy. And they were heading straight for it. The descent into Earth's atmosphere was anything but smooth. Turbulence rocked the Celestial Horizon, and alarms blared as the ship system struggled to cope with the planet's volatile weather. Zyloth clung to her console, her heart racing as the ship shuddered and groaned. "Stabilizers failing," T. Laura shouted, her antennae flattened against her head. "We're losing altitude. Hold it together." Vrax barked, his claws gripping the armrests of his command chair. Somehow, they managed to land in one piece, though the ship's hull was scorched and several systems were damaged. As the dust settled, the crew gathered in the main cabin, their fear palpable. "We'll need to conduct repairs," Vrax said, his voice calm but his eyes darting nervously to the viewscreen. Outside, the landscape was a lush, green expanse, with towering trees and a sky that was an unsettling shade of blue. "T. Laura, you're with me. The rest of you, stay on board and monitor the sensors. If anything moves, I want to know about it." Zyloth watched as Vrax and Telora donned their environmental suits and stepped out onto the planet's surface. She couldn't help but admire their bravery, even as her own fear threatened to overwhelm her. Minutes passed, then hours. The crew on board the ship worked in tense silence, their eyes glued to the sensors. Suddenly, an alarm blared, and Zyloth's console lit up with activity. "Something's out there," she cried, her voice high-pitched with panic. Multiple life forms, approaching fast. The crew scrambled to the viewscreen, their eyes widening as they saw a group of humans emerging from the trees. They were unlike anything Zyloth had ever seen, tall, bipedal, and covered in some kind of fibrous material. Their faces were expressive, their eyes sharp and calculating. "What do we do?" Dr. Krell whispered, his gelatinous form quivering violently. Before anyone could answer, the humans reached the ship. One of them, a female with short, dark hair, stepped forward and raised a hand in what Zyloth hoped was a gesture of peace. "We come in peace," the human said, her voice carrying through the ship's external speakers. "We mean you no harm." Zyloth exchanged a glance with the rest of the crew. Could it be true? Were the humans not the monsters they had been led to believe? Captain Vrax and Telora returned to the ship, their suits covered in dirt and their expressions wary. "They helped us with the repairs," Vrax said, his voice tinged with disbelief. "They're not what we expected." Over the next few days, the crew of the Celestial Horizon interacted with the humans, learning about their culture and way of life. They discovered that the humans were not the savage predators of legend, but a complex and diverse species capable of great kindness and compassion. Zyloth, in particular, found herself fascinated by the humans. She spent hours talking with the dark-haired female, whose name was Dr. Emily Carter, a scientist who specialized in xenobiology. Emily explained that Earth was indeed a dangerous place, but its inhabitants had learned to thrive in its harsh environment. "We're not so different, you and I," Emily said one evening as they sat beneath the stars. "We both want to explore, to learn, to understand the universe." Zyloth nodded, her fear replaced by a sense of wonder. Perhaps the galaxy has more to teach us than we realized. As the Celestial Horizon prepared to leave Earth, Zyloth felt a pang of sadness. She had come to see the planet not as a death world, but as a place of beauty and resilience. The humans had shown her that even in the face of danger, there was hope. "Thank you," she said to Emily as they stood on the ship's ramp. "For everything." Emily smiled. "Safe travels, Zyloth. And remember, you're always welcome here." As the ship ascended into the sky, Zyloth looked down at the planet below, her heart filled with a newfound respect for Earth and its inhabitants. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but she knew that she would never forget her time on the most dangerous planet of all. And as the stars stretched out before her, Zyloth realized that sometimes the greatest adventures were the ones that challenged everything you thought you knew.